Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. For your returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, we're really glad you joined us. We hope you like what you hear. So our podcast is for people that want to learn something new or make themselves a little bit better every day. And in today's episode, we're going to give you 6 tips on how you can learn from your failures, take those learnings, apply them to future endeavors or activities, and help you be successful. So failure is part of life. We all know that. There's nothing we can do about it other than be prepared when it happens to learn from those failures and apply those learnings to future endeavors so that we can get better, we can get smarter, we got a better shot at succeeding at the things that we're trying to do. So, quote from Henry Ford, "Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently." Now, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Ford Motor Company, as it exists today, is the 3rd iteration of Ford Motor Company. So Henry Ford tried twice before he started Ford Motor Company and failed both times, went bankrupt both times, and started the 3rd time, applied all the learnings he got from all the work and the failures he had from his first two attempts, and became obviously wildly successful after that. So it's a part of life. We know it's going to happen, and we just need to be prepared for it. What the key is how we respond to failure when it inevitably happens, because it's going to happen. We all know that. Failure can break you, or it can make you stronger. That choice is yours. And there's a lot of emotion that comes into play when we fail at things. Very normal. Frustration, embarrassment, self-doubt, all of those things come into play when we fail at something. Could be a small failure, could be a gigantic failure, doesn't matter. We feel all of those emotions when we fail. And one of the first things we got to do is stop thinking about it as failure. It's a course correction. We have to change what we were doing because what we were doing was not delivering the result that we wanted. And that's how we have to look at failure. Because if we just quit anytime we failed at something, none of us would get anywhere. And we got a couple more examples of people who didn't accept failure and went on to be wildly successful after they learned from their failure and persevered and kept going. So, with all that said, let's jump into our 6 tips here of how, well, these are the things you can do, take action when you fail to learn from it and apply those learnings to future activities. So step 1 is acknowledge and accept it. So that's the first thing you got to do. You can't ignore it. You can't downplay it. You can't pretend it didn't happen. It's real. Like it's real. It happened. And you have to accept that. And then the next step from that is you have to take responsibility for the failure. There could have been a ton of circumstances that impacted your failure. And those could all be true and legitimate. You don't have control over those external circumstances, but you do have control over taking responsibility for and learning from it. And you can't make excuses. You can't wish it away. You can't pretend it didn't happen. You have to own it. As an example, let's say you make a pitch at work and the pitch doesn't go very well. You can say to yourself, oh, I wasn't, the audience wasn't right. It was the wrong time of day. There were all sorts of extenuating circumstances against me. Better way to approach it is I didn't prepare enough for that pitch and I lost the deal. When can I do better next time? What can I do better next time? How can I do better next time? That is accepting it. That is accepting responsibility. And that is realizing, hey, I have to step up my game if I want to get to where I'm going to go. So step 1, acknowledge and accept it. And we've got some real world examples here, real world things you can do, ways to do that to help you accept those challenges when they come and start to process them so you can learn from them. Step number 2, when you fail, analyze what went wrong. And this is not a blame game. This is not a pity party. This is what actually went wrong. You got to conduct a postmortem, right? When someone passes away and they do an autopsy, they're trying to figure out how they died. And so you have to do the same thing when something goes wrong. What were the key mistakes? Ask yourself, what did I control in this situation? What was out of my control in this situation? What specific actions led to failure? Where were there any warning signs I ignored? And usually, if you do that, you're going to uncover a ton of valuable information. What was in your control? Did you maybe not work hard enough? Did you maybe not do enough research? Did you not prepare? Did you not ask the right questions? Did you not talk to the right people? Did you not have enough money set aside for whatever it was you were attempting? Lots of things in your control that you can look at. Next, out of your control. Did the economy crash? Did you start a business 2 weeks before COVID? I did. That happened to me. I actually started a business 2 weeks before COVID happened, and it was not a good situation for us. I don't have control over COVID, but I do have control over how I reacted to it and the things we tried that were not successful to try to make it work. What specific actions led to failure? What specifically caused the downfall? Was it customers not paying in time? Were you not billing correctly? Did your product not resonate with customers? Were you not able to ship product in a timely manner? Did you have poor customer service? All of those are reasons, and those are specific actions that could have led to failure. But you've got to do postmortem and understand what they are. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe you didn't communicate well enough. Maybe you were closed off. Maybe you were in a bad spot in your life and you weren't prepared to enter in a new relationship, so you took a poor approach. Were there any warning signs I ignored? I hear this a lot from people that, oh, my ex is blah, blah, blah. Like, it wasn't a surprise that you married this person. It wasn't a surprise you were in a relationship with this person. You did that, and you ignored the warning signs where they didn't call you back, where they called you names when you argued, when you saw their temper, when you saw their passive aggressiveness, and you ignored it because you wanted the relationship to work. It's not good or bad. It just is. But you have to look and do a postmortem so you don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And that's actually our next step. Extract lessons from the failure. So you've acknowledged it. You've analyzed it. Now, what have you learned from analyzing that failure? Identify patterns. Do you keep making the same mistakes over and over again? If so, that's really a you problem. That's not a market problem. That's not a business problem. That's a you problem. You're taking a bad approach and you're allowing the same things to happen over and over again without making an adjustment for them. So ask yourself, am I doing the same thing over and over again? Do I allow the same thing to happen over and over again? Ask people you trust, not random people who are willing to criticize you, but people you trust who have experience, who know what you were trying to accomplish, for their perspective, mentors, colleagues, friends, family members that you trust. What am I doing here that keeps causing these failures? What is it that caused this failure from your perspective? You tell me, looking from the outside, what did you see? So if you launched a business and it failed, you can pivot your business model instead of just giving up and throwing in the towel. Or maybe your business model was a bad idea. We watched a Modern Family episode once where the guy had a dog treat business he was trying to pitch to Jay on that show. And it was a terrible business. In that instance, it's time to fold up shop and go find something else. But a lot of times you're on the right track. You just need to tweak your model, tweak your offering, tweak your approach if you're going to be successful. But if you accept it, if you analyze it, and then you extract the lessons from that, it puts you in a position to be able to do those things. So next, step 4, adjust and adapt your approach like we were just talking about. Make tangible changes based on your learnings. Don't tell yourself, I'll just work harder this time. I'll just do a better job of this time. What does a better job mean? What does it look like? If it's invoicing, I didn't invoice well enough last time. A tangible change to that would be all my invoices are going out within 24 hours of the service call ending. Or maybe it was HR related. Say, I'm going to have a course that every employee has to take before they start their first day in office etiquette or sexual harassment training or whatever your challenges were. You've got to make a tangible change to your approach that is going to give you a better chance of success the next time. And remember, you're going to change your strategy. You're not changing your goal. You're still trying to build a successful business, but the strategy by which you build that business is the change that you're looking to make there. Okay, step 5, develop a growth mindset. Replace self-criticism with self-improvement. Thomas Edison once said, I didn't fail. I just found 1,000 ways it didn't work. So he thought about it like, I'm eliminating options. I'm eliminating options. Now, he eliminated a lot of options before he finally figured that light bulb out. But he did not quit. He did not give up. He did not let it defeat him. He didn't just criticize himself and say, oh, I guess I'm not that smart. I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to get this done. That's not the approach. Not the approach there. So replace self-criticism with self-improvement. That one's terribly important. What did the experience teach you? This experience taught me X, and I'll apply it moving forward. And then one more step on this one. You should be surrounding yourself with people who encourage learning from mistakes. You don't want to be around Debbie Downer or Negative Nelly and have them every time something goes wrong. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. I told you this is how it was going to end. That's not helpful. What you can do is the postmortem, identify your challenges, adjust and adapt your approach, and use your growth mindset to try to move forward. So that's step 5. And then tip number 6, and this one's really important. Take action quickly. So you don't want to sit and cry in your beer and feel sorry for yourself and allow whatever your failure was to prevent you from moving forward. So the best response to a failure is to try again with your adjustments. And from there, you can set small, immediate goals to rebuild momentum. I'm going to make 10 sales calls tomorrow with my new approach. I'm going to go try to land X accounts in the next 2 weeks. Whatever it is that you're changing or tweaking, set yourself a small goal that you can start on right now, like today, because that gets you back on the horse and it puts the sting of failure further behind you because now you're moving forward, right? You can't live life looking backwards. You got to live looking forwards. So that's the way that you've got to approach this. Take action quickly. And then the last thing on this, avoid analysis paralysis. Perfect is never going to happen. What's better is taking action, making progress, and tweaking your approach as you move forward. That's a much better approach for someone that wants to be successful. Analysis paralysis, quicksand, whatever you want to call it, is when you just analyze and analyze and analyze. But if I just read one more thing, if I just take one more class, if I just watch one more video, if I just do one more thing, at some point you got to take your shot, right? So taking action quickly is terribly, terribly important. So then we've got a couple of examples here, like we talked about at the beginning. Here are people that experienced pretty big failures in real world and learned from those, applied those learnings, and went on to be hugely successful. Steve Jobs, fired from his own company. In 1985, Apple fired Steve Jobs from his own company because of internal conflicts and leadership struggles. So the lesson he learned is he needed to improve leadership skills and adaptability. So Steve Jobs was notoriously prickly, notoriously difficult to get along with, but he was a much improved version of himself on his second iteration at Apple than he was on his first. So he took those lessons and went on to found the company Next, N-E-X-T. He founded Pixar. He refined his management style while he was doing that. Apple acquired Next, and at that point, they brought Jobs back on as the CEO of the whole company. So he used those lessons, a new leadership, a new approach to reinvent Apple, develop some of the most significant products in the last 100 years. The iPhone, the iPod, the Macintosh revolution. It's funny, they ran a commercial in 1984 that said, think differently. And now how many people do you know that have Apple computers? Apple is the dominant personal computer now. So they went from being on the outside as a rebel, as an upstart, and they're now the monolithic giant company that controls the market. So pretty funny when you think about it that way. Next, J.K. Rowling. She was rejected by 12 publishers before someone agreed to publish the Harry Potter series. You imagine being one of those 12 publishers that said no? What a fuck up, huh? But before she had that published, she'd been divorced. She was a single mother. She was on welfare. She actually had suicidal thoughts she talked about in previous interviews. And she was struggling to get someone to accept her book. And what she learned was, I got to keep going. I know I've got something here. They might not see it, but the next person might see it. So you've got to get used to rejection. You've got to get used to getting kicked in the teeth every once in a while if you want to be a successful business person, because things aren't just going to go your way all of the time. And so she continued submitting her manuscript until Bloomsbury finally accepted her book. Became one of the most popular selling books of all time. The series is one of the most popular selling series of all time. What if she'd have stopped after the sixth person told her, get out of my office? That's not the approach. That's not going to make you successful. You have to learn from those failures, apply those learnings, and keep pushing forward. So super, super important. So those are our 6 tips. Those are the 2 people that we chose to highlight that have failed pretty publicly, pretty significantly, and didn't allow it to stop them. So remember, failure is a stepping stone. It's not a roadblock. When you fail, there's a silver lining in that cloud somewhere, and you've got to find it. The way to do that, own it, analyze it, learn from it, and take action. And remember, every successful person has failed. What separates them is how they responded to it, and that it didn't stop them, that they wouldn't quit simply because it happened. So think about a recent failure you had and write down 3 things you learned from it. And then write down 1 action you can take from those lessons. That's a good way to take the learnings from our episode today and put them to use in real life right away. And remember, we talked about taking action quickly. You don't want to wait. You don't want to let it get moldy. Bad news doesn't keep. You've got to jump on things and take action when they happen. So one last thought. We think, and we've heard this before, a lot of people echo it, and we think it's right, the only real failure that's out there is the failure to not try again. So you're going to get knocked down. There's Confucius had a saying that said, get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. And that's the right way to think about it. Life's going to hand you some stuff you don't like that you have to deal with. And it's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be fun sometimes. But successful people persevere. They use the tips like we talked about here to learn from those lessons and apply those learnings to future approaches so that it gives them a better chance of being successful. So we'd love to hear in the comments about sometime you failed and what you learned from it and how you applied those learnings in future endeavors. That would be super helpful. And we respond to every comment, so we'd love to hear from you guys on that. Or if you've got other ways you approach it that we didn't talk about in here, share those tips in the comments so that the listeners on our podcast can learn from those tips. Like, it's super helpful when we can all help each other out. So let's do that. Don't forget, guys, every day James puts it up right over there. Head to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are available there. We've got a newsletter that we publish every weekday that you can subscribe to there. We're kind of snarky and sarcastic in that letter. We take 2-3 public events or current events, comment on those, and we give a tip and a quote of the day. And it's a fun way to start, a little 5-minute read to start your day, keep you abreast of what's going on. So if you want to subscribe to that, you can do that on our website. And then all of our links to our social media accounts are on there as well. So as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. It's super helpful for us. It gets the videos out in front of more people, and it allows more people to kind of learn from the things that we're all talking about on here. So if you're able to do that and you want to, we sure appreciate it. So everybody have a great week. Appreciate you checking us out, and we will see you on the next episode.